Hey, people with VC, it's Andy, Cloudy and Milder. Another installment of From the Inbox. I thought by now the inbox would be getting smaller, but with my only outlet being online shopping, it's not really getting that much lighter at this moment in time. But I've pulled another 7 records that I've been given a spin to over the last week to 10 days. So I'm going to show you what they are, and then they can go on the shelves and make room for some more goodies in the future. First up, Heathen, Breaking the Silence from 1987. This is a Music for Nations release number 75. Heathen are a kind of speed thrash metal band from California. I believe this is their debut release. It was on Combat in the States, hence Music for Nations here. Music for Nations carried a lot of releases that were on Combat. Take a look at the guys there. It's very catchy melodic thrash. By melodic thrash, I mean it's not Nuclear Assault or Slayer in the sound, but it's kind of more melodic than Metallica. Even but it's brilliant. It's really good. I've really enjoyed. I've had this for ages. I remember Darcy showing it, and I said, I've owned that for a couple of months, and I haven't got around to spinning it yet. And he was like, you've got to do it. You've got to do it. And I did it, and he was right. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Favorite songs on here. The first 3 really all kind of rip. It's a hell of a way to open an album. So Death by Hanging. Goblin's Blade is probably my favourite on the album, and Open the Grave, 3 killer tracks. The only duffer on here I would say is Set Me Free, which it sticks out like a sore thumb. It is that sweet song from 1974 or something, but yeah, it's the only bad point of this album, should we say. The rest of it is absolutely superb. Inner sleeve, excellent condition with lyrics, and there you go. Good old Patrick Swayze. Next up, we have got another American thrash band. I think they're a thrash band. They're not really a one and done, but I think they did the one album. They did do another follow up some years later, but given it was 1990, they were a little bit late to the thrash party. This is the Cryptograf self-titled album, live shot. It was a bit of a blind buy. I hadn't heard of these guys before. Couldn't really find a lot of information on them other than they are from Minnesota. It's mostly thrash. Bearing in mind, as I said, it was 1990. There was a whole melting pot of rock influences going on by the time 1990 came along, and some of the songs, it sounds like he's kind of singing in more of a grungy, without sounding like grunge, but the vocals tend to change. It's the same guy singing, as far as I know. The vocals tend to change across certain different types of songs, but when it does thrash, it's kind of full-on Bay Area style thrash. Check out the songs. What should we say here? Bombs Away, probably my favorite track on here, probably the shortest track on here as well. It's not all great, but I'm really pleased I found it, and I played this back to back 3 or 4 times the other night, and it's kind of a little bit of a breath of fresh air, something a little bit different. The thrash that I like, but also it's got certain twists in it, so different styles in there, almost a bit power metal-y at times as well. But definitely worth checking out if you've not heard of these guys. Have a custom label on this side. So this is on a label called Twin Tone Records, and it's a French pressing. I've not got anything else on that label, so don't know too much about them other than that, but to say, well worth checking out. Now a band, more thrash, a band that's been around for, well, as long as I have, really. Originally from the 80s, but still cranking out a good original material so far, and that's Destruction with their 2016 release, Under Attack. So that's the album before the current one. Nuclear Blast out of Germany, so you know it's going to be, well, I was going to say you know it's going to be a quality pressing, but this one, this one's got quite a wiggle to it when it plays. I wouldn't say it doesn't have any visible warping to it, but when the needle's on, and this plays at 45 RPM as well, so I think that kind of accentuates the makes the needle movement more prominent than it would be at I don't know why I'm doing this, more prominent at than it would be at 33, but it doesn't skip, but it looks damn close. It looks like it's going to take a jump every now and again. Being an album that plays at 45 RPM, which you only find out when it's kind of right down here in the small print, it's one of those albums you chuck on at 33, realize it's a little bit more doom metal than you were expecting, and then remember it's 45 and you go and switch it on, and then you put your next album on, which does play at 33, and you forget you've changed the setting, and then the next album sounds like it's speed metal. So it does annoy me when full-length albums play at 45. Here we go, that's my right over. Inside the gatefold we have lyrics. So it's a double album. I think it's got 2 bonus tracks on here, so they've kind of filled out side A, B, C, and then had 1 track left over to put on D. So they did chuck a couple of extra bonus tracks on. Thrash Attack, I think that's I think that was an instrumental, if I remember rightly, and a cover of Black Metal featuring Alex from Heathen, which is a death metal band, so death metal and thrash band doing a cover of Black Metal. But it's an excellent album. I mean, this is, you know what you're going to get with Destruction. Lyrics are all typical, the world is doomed, everything's going to self-destruct at some point in time. So it's nothing mind-blowing, but a cracking album nonetheless. Side 3, probably my favourite side. Stand Up 40 delivers a great song. Generation Nevermore on side A. Side B, maybe the weakest, but only well, side 4's the weakest because it's got the covers and things on, but overall a great album. It still doesn't leave me hankering to build out the Destruction collection. I've only got 2 Destruction albums. I think this one, Spiritual Genocide, on CD. I'd say I'm a Destruction fan. I just don't go out looking for their stuff. They're a 3-piece on this album, from what I can tell. It comes with these nice picture inserts. You've got Mike on guitars, Varver, is it, on drums and a backing vox, and Schmeier, vox and bass. Apologies for German speakers out there, I'm butchering it. But when I saw these guys supporting Overkill, when I went with Metal Mickey and the Rock Scout, I'm sure they were a 4-piece then. They had a younger guy on guitar as well. So I don't know enough about Destruction to know whether they were kind of always a 3-piece or they've been transitioning to and between 3 and 4 across the years, or maybe even 5. I don't know. But I'd say it's Nuclear Blast, so it comes in nice polylined sleeves, and the label's the same on. Label picture's the same, obviously, on all 4 sides, so black vinyl too. Next up, we're going away from thrash metal, quite far from thrash metal. In fact, excuse me, cheers. We're going to go back to 1980 next, and a little bit of a surprise for me, really. This is Gillan, obviously, and his album Glory Road, which I think was his 3rd solo album, but this is the first Gillan album I've heard. I picked this up, and the following 2 after, was it Future Shock and the other one whose name I forget. I've not listened to those yet because I picked all 3 up together in the same record store, but I wanted to really get to know one album at a time. So I started with this one as it was the older one, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, it's got clear Deep Purple influences, and people who know me know I'm not a big fan of Deep Purple. The John Lord organ sound just doesn't do anything for me. In fact, it kind of puts me off. But there's a bit of that on here. As I say, it's clear Deep Purple influences, but this is more palatable for my taste. There's 9 tracks overall. I'd say this is a solid 9 out of 10. This album, when it rocks, it rocks. I mean, the opening 2 tracks, Unchain Your Brain and Are You Sure, absolutely fantastic. Even the slower songs like If You Believe Me, which is a long song, 7 minutes 27, is a great song. And of course, Running, Whiteface City Boy, great song. That is one song that I had heard before, and really enjoyed, and it's great hearing it on here again. So I'm now a convert to kind of this sound, and I probably will have to dip my toe in again with the Mark II Deep Purple at some point. You know, I'm going to tread lightly. Now, this version, this UK pressing from 1980, is actually a double album. Although there's nothing on here to say that it is. It comes with the Glory Road album, obviously. Green and red Virgin labels. Nice picture inner sleeve, original inner sleeve. We didn't have inserts in the UK. Everything was, the inner sleeve was the insert. Pictures of the band and lyrics, and this is in perfect condition. The album as well is in superb condition. But this version also comes with a second disc titled For Gillan Fans Only. And there's different kind of musical pieces on here without it really being an album as such, although there are songs on here. I think there's 10 in total. Between each track there's commentary from Gillan as well. It's very, very light-hearted, and it's great to kind of hear probably his sense of humor coming through, because it's not something I would necessarily know a lot about the personalities of many rock musicians back in the day. So this was kind of nice to find this edition. So I think this edition was only in the UK, see, for Gillan fans only. And the first track is Gillan sort of talking why this is for Gillan fans only, because it's for Gillan fans only, and because it's for Gillan fans only, and it goes on for quite a while. But yes, a jam. I'm looking forward to diving a little bit deeper into the other 2 Gillan albums I've got now, so expect to see at least one of those maybe in the next update or the one after, as I'm trying to sort of mix up my listening. Next up, a classic EP, and one I know a lot of you are very, very familiar with, and that's the Queensryche EP, 4-track, self-titled. This is an EMI USA pressing from 1983. Now, one thing that surprised me when it arrived was the record was just sitting in there, no inner sleeve at all, and that really threw me, because this is a heavy card stock. The UK version of this, which I've been looking for years, is more like a 12-inch single would be in the UK, which is a thin card, almost paper sleeve with the slit at the top, and the record just goes in at the top. But this is heavy card like an album. So I thought I may not have been given the right information when I bought it, because it was an online purchase. So I did post on Facebook at one point just to see if any of you guys out there had the US version of this one, certainly the guys in the States, and people confirmed no, it came in. It just came in this sleeve. So I put it in its in a replacement inner sleeve itself. There's the EMI America, but yeah, this is to me this and the Warning, and then almost in the order of the first 4 albums would be what I would say would be my favorite from Queensryche. Queen of the Reich, Knight Rider, Blinded, and The Lady Wore Black. Very sort of atmospheric American heavy metal, killer stuff. I always wondered why They were called Queensryche with a Y here, but the Queen of the Reich was R-E-I-C-H. I haven't worried too much about it. I haven't lost any sleep over it, but maybe there's an answer out there. Who knows? Maybe one of you guys can tell me. Next up, so this is what, number 6? Maniacs, Shout It Out. Check out that for a cover. So Maniacs were a UK band, formed around 1983, from what I could read. In fact, there's they get a really good write-up in Macmillan's Encyclopedia of New Wave of British Heavy Metal. They get, over a page, which is pretty good considering the number of bands that are in here. And but they only released this album and one more full-length album after it with pretty much a different lineup. But this is 1984. It's solid, upbeat, melodic heavy metal. They are a 4-piece. You see here we've got the voice, the guitar, the drummer, and the basics. They don't have a keyboard player, but they do have additional keys called out on here, which they use moderately, I would say, through the album. I think "Shout It Out" it becomes quite prominent first, the title track on side 2, but it's good. Yeah, I mean it's really kind of, as I say, it's upbeat melodic metal. I don't really know how else to describe it. It's well worth checking out. It's just a shame, excuse me, that this was their only real release with this lineup. It's on Banzai. I didn't say it's a Canadian pressure, so a UK band on a Canadian label. In the UK, it was on Power Station Records. If you can see here, it's we've got this side and that side. What I kind of quite liked, and you're never going to be able to see this, but in the dead wax, it actually says, I'm going to see that here. It says that side and this side. So there's no A and B, but you can tell what's on what side. I like things like that when you spot little messages or just little quirky things in the dead wax of records. It has the obligatory kind of ballad slow song on this, but it's still a good song. It's the game on side A. Let's say it's as slow as heavy metal songs go, but it's not bad at all. And Cold as Ice, that's the track to check out if you want to hear what these guys sound like. Good album. Really pleased to have that one in the collection. And last but not least, a record that I know we often say things like, you all know this one, but who doesn't know Iron Maiden Killers? This is the 2014 repress. I've been and remaster. I think I've been collecting these. I now have the full set, but there's a couple more I haven't really listened to properly yet to try and give get a good opinion of whether I feel they are good reissues or not. I've not come across a bad one. I know people have said that the Number of Beast is not great, but I think it's fantastic. Sound-wise, really, really good. Fantastic reproduction of the cover and the inner label. Obviously, the main difference between this and the original is the 180 gram vinyl. In the UK, it was very, very thin vinyl. And I've got my other copies. I've got 2 other copies of this actually. I've got my 1981 original that I finally picked up last year, and I've got my this is the 85 Fame repress. Now, the 81 and the 85 are almost identical, apart from a barcode and the label information, where we've got an additional Fame logo down here. The only difference is really the colours pop a little more on on here. You can tell they've obviously enhanced it a little, the reds and the yellows, and the colours just a little bit richer. One thing I did notice that was different is the cats. There are three cats that I can tell. There's one down in the window here. One. Where's the other one gone? One in the window, the green window down here, and one up on the roof. Is on the original you can see the cat's eyes, which you're never going to see this, are you? See, this is the level of analness I go into. So the little wee cat there, on this original, you can actually see the little white spots of his eyes, but it kind of blurs into the background on the new version. Apparently there's some sort of myth about every Iron Maiden cover Derek Riggs hid black cats in them. And I've had a quick scoot through some of the records and found some of them on the other albums, but not all of them as yet. So I don't know if that's true or not. So if you've heard that rumour, do let me know in the comments, and or maybe that's just a myth, who knows. But there we go. That's my 7 records. That's my 7 records for this time around. I've got over 20 minutes, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. As always, let me know what you think of these records. Let me know what you think of my opinion. I don't mind if you disagree at all. Thank you for watching. I hope you're all staying safe, and I will see you again in the video shortly. Cheers.